Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wet evening as it might be here, whatever time it is where you're listening. Welcome back to the Macro Lounge.
I am one of your hosts, Rachel, expert in all things sparkly.
Definitely sparkly. And I'm Chris, coach and former judge, and the guy who'll tell you the truth of whether your shoulders or your glutes are big enough. Harsh, but that's my job.
Fair enough. So, what are we talking about today, Chris?
This week, are you ready to compete?
So, how do we know if we are ready to compete? So, as a coach, what do you usually look for when you ask someone, or if you're looking at, is somebody ready to compete?
To be honest, as a coach, probably looking for, breaking it down in a couple of different sections. You're looking obviously at the physical side. Do they have the muscle mass to begin a prep? Have they showed training consistency? But probably more importantly, before I actually say, hey, look, you are ready to start competing, it is literally, have you been able to follow that plan for at least 3 months? If you can't follow a basic plan during your growth season, then you got no hope of doing it when it really counts.
That felt like a personal attack on me.
No, I just accept that's a general run of the mill. Actually, speaking of which, I believe we're in the first week of prep this week.
We are. So, technically second?
Well, yeah, but as we do know, you're 15 minutes late for most things. So when prep, I take 7 days.
That's fair.
I thought so.
So yes, we have begun prep, and I have actually begun more or less following plans. Maybe.
There you go. Prep it's an interesting time, isn't it? I think that making that decision, and you probably get this when you get, girls come to see you for bikinis, right? It's like, you're also sort of talking to them about it. What's their lifestyle like? Do they have the financial readiness? If somebody's coming to see you in that initial consult, where hopefully they're actually spoken to you before they start prep. If they're automatically saying to you, oh, how much is that bikini going to cost? Are they financially ready for prep? We talked about this a little bit in a previous episode as well.
Yes, the financial cost is definitely a big one, and it does come down to a little bit of priorities. Are you in a place where you have enough money to be able to shoulder all those costs? Because, as we said in that last podcast, there is definitely a few things that you do not want to cheap out on. A few things you can save on cost, but there is a few things that it's better to spend the money. Other things that we could look at, are you physically ready? So are you eating enough calories is a big one. So when I used to do personal training, I actually would have a lot of women especially come to me. You probably get this too, Chris, where they're on quite low calories already. So one lady I can think of specifically was on about 1,500 calories and doing multiple HIIT classes a day. At that point, let's say if she wanted to do a prep, she is not in a good space, because that's pretty low calories for a female to be on, and also a lot of cardio. So you're going to be fit. Where do you go from there?
Yeah, that's what I often say is where do you go from there? There is short of starvation and living on the treadmill, where do you go?
Into, not fun spaces.
No. And I think that's another really valuable sign about, are you ready to compete, or even considering prep, is, what is your relationship with food like? What is your relationship with the gym like? If you already have a less than strong relationship with food, and you suffer from potential binge eating or under eating, or feeling that, okay, coach has said do 30 minutes of cardio, but I'm going to do 60 because, I want to burn extra fat. If you're already doing that, well, that's a red flag about maybe it's not quite the right time to consider doing a show. Now, that being said, I think you mentioned something a couple of weeks ago, Rach, when you were talking, we were saying about not necessarily waiting years to start prep.
Yeah, so you don't have to wait years, but you definitely should at least discuss with a coach. So don't sign up with a coach straight off thinking I'm going to compete in 12 weeks. I did that. Said coach made me do an off-season first.
Good.
Which was good. It was great. And definitely most coaches these days will try to get you to do an off-season first. Usually you probably should be working with a coach for, a year before considering competing, just so that you're able to follow a plan. You're used to the bodybuilding way. Something that a lot of coaches will say is that prep shouldn't be a humongous change to your lifestyle. It should be just like, okay, yeah, I'm just dialing back calories. Foods are probably going to be very similar, other than less free meals, and a little bit more cardio. But other than that, it should not be a humongous change to your lifestyle.
No. Well, certainly not initially anyway. I mean, obviously, as you get to that tail end where it's a little bit different set of rules when it comes to female athletes, particularly, say, bikini and wellness, and that's a fit model, swimsuit, etc. But yeah, it shouldn't be a massive change, especially not the first 3 weeks. Like, if you've been used to being in a caloric excess, you don't suddenly want to drop into a 500 calorie per day deficit, because your body will literally tell you to go take a long walk off a shore pier.
Not
Put it
fun.
politely.
And actually, another thing is just we spoke about this just before, that your relationship with your body.
Hi,
Guest
Rusty.
speaker.
Yeah, guest speaker.
If you think that doing a prep will make you like your body more, you are very, very wrong. It will most likely make it worse.
Yeah.
Generally, like, yeah, you get to that lean space. You might enjoy being lean. I personally don't. But especially your first prep, you go from being like shredded, 6-pack, and then you come out of it, and then where do you go from there? If you want to look like that every day, it's not fun. You don't want to look like that every day. Stage lean is supposed to be only for a week. You should not be looking like that all the time. So if you think that that's what you want to make you happy with how your body looks, it's just going to make things very much worse when you then come out of prep and you start eating more again.
That's true. Yeah, it's if you've got those basic ones that we talked about, have you got the physical signs, the training consistency, the diet consistency, recovery, good relationship with your food and your family and all that, and those important foundations, because without them, this is worth. If you don't have those foundations in place, none of this is going to work. There's probably, for first timers, sort of we've talked about a little bit, Rachel, there's probably 5 steps that they should probably look at before they start. Once they've made that decision that they want to start prepping, I think we've sort of come up with about 5, did we say?
Yeah, I think it was 5.
What was the first one?
So looking into your federations, this is actually something I personally spent a long time doing. I'm not sure about you, Chris, when you started competing. Did you just jump into a federation?
There was only 2 to choose from.
Fair. So I spent a little bit of time researching, because especially when I started looking in 2019, I think it wasn't as big on social media. It was much harder to find everything. But yeah, different federations have very different styles. So the first one I came across was actually WBFF, also FMG. That is very, very different to what, say, IFBB is. The posing is very different. You're constantly moving. The bikinis are twice as elaborate. It's very, very different. And then even ICN, they look for a different look to what IFBB does. Same with all the federations have a slight different look that they're going for. So choosing a big thing for me was actually what posing I liked best. That was one of the reasons I chose IFBB originally, was because I really liked how the posing was. And then, if you don't like what that federation is looking for, there's not much point in going with that federation.
No, if that federation or that look doesn't speak to you, as in you don't look at that and go, damn, I'd like to look like that, then why would you put yourself into that environment where either A, you don't like the look and you're not going to feel comfortable with it, or B, it's not a look that you can actually genetically achieve. If you look like a FMG, sorry, I don't know all the classes in that federation, but one of the harder, more muscular, more athletic bikini classes they have, then why would you try and put yourself into an IFBB bikini class when you would clearly get penalized because you've got that more, I hesitate to say it, but that thicker CrossFit style muscle. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just, hey, let's find the one that fits, right?
Yes, definitely. So find the federation that fits for you. And then once you've chosen your federation, that's when you start looking for your coach, because different coaches will specialize in different federations. If you try to find a coach first, they will usually have a specific federation that they will try to push you towards. Chris.
Okay, guilty. But hey, at least I'm honest about it.
This is true. This is true.
And in my defence, I don't go out there bashing other federations. I just say, there is only one Mr. Olympia. Just say, put that out there. But
Choose your
also,
federation.
choose your federation first, then look for a coach. And once you've found a coach, then, as you said, we talked about this in the previous episode. It's finding a coach that's familiar with the federation that you're looking at, but also finding that coach that speaks to you and understands your time frame, like when you're looking at, understands the look that you want to achieve, and again, one that you feel that you can have that trusting relationship in there that's going to put your interests essentially above their own. And it's not an easy decision to make, and you shouldn't be rushed into that, and you shouldn't be forced into it because for any reason other than this person understands where you want to go.
So something you just touched on there, Chris, that I think is really important. So with your coach, understanding your federation. I've seen it a few times where coaches have put their athletes into a federation where they're not familiar with, and they have not understood the level of muscularity, the level of conditioning, even sometimes the suits, the posing. So yeah, it's very, very important that your coach is familiar with your federation. Otherwise, they might even enter you in the wrong category. So I have seen that before where athletes have been in the category. Shouldn't have been.
We had that, you and I had that last year when you first said to me that you wanted to do ICN, and I literally went, what? I know nothing about ICN. And I sneakily snuck into one of the shows with my hoodie up the back, and I sat there and quietly watched. Didn't quite get away with it because 5 minutes on the way home, I got a phone call from the president of the IFBB saying, what the hell? I'm like, oh, shit. But yeah, I'm red-handed. But that being said, it's like, I had to go out and research ICN. I had to look at the materials there. I had to speak to some of the officials and say, hey, what are you looking at? Tell me what you're looking for, because I'm just looking at it from an IFBB slant. So, there's no point me bringing in an athlete in condition for IFBB if that's not what you're looking for. It was a little bit almost humbling, I think, because, it's like we think we know everything. But it was a good experience, and it was cool. Yeah, it was really good. But yeah, once you've picked your coach, there's the next person you got to talk to, and they shouldn't always be the same person. And that's finding yourself a posing coach. And honestly, that's probably just as difficult as finding yourself if you like, a head coach.
Definitely. And that's also very important because it's so obvious. I think we've said it a few times. If you can't pose properly, or if you don't know what posing you're supposed to be doing, it is very obvious on stage. And again, have a posing coach that is familiar with your federation.
Yeah.
Especially for federations with quarter turns. So like when I showed up to ICN, I actually didn't do any posing sessions with any ICN posing coaches. That's on me. I thought I'd just learn it myself, and then I got very, very confused on stage.
Yeah, there was a lot of front and back. There wasn't a lot of quarter turn on the first show.
Yeah, to be fair, they did miss a turn. There was only 3 turns for some reason, and that was what got me. But that's okay. So yeah, I definitely, it's good to have someone who has been on the stage that you're planning to go on, because they also know the things that are happening backstage and what to do to prepare. So while your coach can help you with some of that stuff, there's small things that the posing coach will know to look for. So where are the judges going to be sitting? Different federations might have them in slightly different kind of angles.
They do.
Where are you going to be standing? Are you going to be on the side? Are you going to be in the middle? So yeah, all of those little things, it's very important to know like what the posing is for that federation, and have a good posing coach.
Yep. And to be fair, there are some very good posing coaches out there, both domestically here in New Zealand, in Australia, the US, some really good ones in England as well. Don't necessarily work for us Kiwis, though. Some of the time zones can suck. But that's okay. You work around it. But I also think, getting that posing coach is really critical. But like we just did last week, not just for Team Bold Physique, but we had people from other teams from around the country. We had people come up from Wellington, Hamilton, Tauranga, a few other bits and pieces. But once you've got that posing coach, look out for things like group posing sessions, like the one that we did, and we'll do another one in a couple of weeks, middle of August, and then possibly we'll do one in Wellington towards the end of August. was where you can learn that stage presence. So you've got your posing, so you're learning how to walk, you're learning the variables like, what if the head judge says do this? And you see it all the time when you go to a show, and the first time competitors are like, but I only know my front and my back.
Because I mean, sometimes they throw curveballs at you. Like, there was a couple of IFBB shows, I think it was 2 years ago, where they told the girls to stand feet together, in their back pose. Which, that was your fault, Chris.
No, to be fair, it wasn't my fault. I was told to do it, and I don't argue with the boss. Yeah.
So,
no,
and that was a
occasionally
huge curveball because nobody's learnt to pose like that.
No. I remember going, hey, all right.
I think that was pretty much most people's reaction was like, hang on, what?
Yeah.
The girls on stage, same reaction.
But there's also, for example, even just within the IFBB, there's 3 different ways they can get you to the front of the stage. And if you've only practiced the traditional walk to the back middle, do your front pose, walk to the front middle, do your front, do your back, do your whole model walk and all that stuff. And suddenly the marshal's saying straight to the front of the line, and you're like, what the hell? You're doing the diagonal. Or again, the IFBB, they can do it with some of the smaller stages. Instead of sort of starting at the back and making that diagonal line to the front, you're literally walking straight along the front line. And if you don't know that that's coming, and the marshal says, do this, you're like, but I've practiced this. And you're like, marshal's like, I don't give it. This is what we're doing. And you're like, okay. And then if you ICN, you've got a completely different route to get to the stage.
Yes, so you usually are more of starting on the side. You don't go into the middle at the back and then walk to the front.
That threw me. I was like, I was looking at the map going, hey,
all right, I have a map.
Yeah, that's helpful. That's helpful. But yeah, look out for those things as well, because that's a real good opportunity to practice that being on stage with other girls. So you know where to stand, you know where to look for the judges, you know that you're always on show, rather than just practicing yourself with a mirror and your coach.
You also learn body awareness. Body awareness is huge, because a lot of the time, like, if there's a lot of girls in your class, you can end up with being quite squished. And I've had girls literally hitting me in their transitions. So sometimes you are right up next to people touching them. And so if you have these big wavy like hair flicks and stuff when you're doing your comparisons, the rest of us get hit. So yeah, spatial awareness.
Elbows getting thrown.
Yeah, I had one girl once, actually. It's really annoying because I've got photos and she's covering my glute the entire show. She's standing next to me covering my glute because her arm was so far out that it was in front of my glute. So I kept trying to move in front of her and we had a little war.
Phil Heath and Kai Green in bikinis.
Yeah, I had to keep trying to like kind of shove past her. Like, I was like, you're like taking up like two amounts of space here.
To be fair, Rachel, you're quite a tall girl too, so it's not exactly like, your wingspan is pretty impressive by itself. So
I tend to, if I go wide in my posing though, I will just look even bigger.
You kind of, yeah.
That's why I have to do a little
politely more. Saying you take up a few amounts.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But anyway, moving on. But yes, first time is also, I do actually recommend, Chris, I haven't asked you about this, but probably the same. It's good to have an in-person posing session for the first couple of sessions at least. And then if you want to move on to an online coach who maybe you can't see in person all the time, that's fine. But in-person is always going to be better because they can see all the angles and they can actually physically touch you and move you.
Yeah. I think that comes down to your learning style as well. Some people will learn from cues, and then they can remember the cues. So online can be better. But I like the whole the presence, because even like when you're training somebody, like from training female athletes, is like there's the perfect way to do like a hip thrust. But if your height, Rach, versus say my wife Valerie's height, well, you do the same hip thrust, it's going to hit different. So, when you're physically with somebody, you can do this. But yeah, I think it's a good idea to get a physical one if you can. If you're living somewhere and they don't have them available, then do the best you can. Yeah, so posing's important. Getting that posing coach, starting early. It's never too early to start.
Do not start posing when you start prep.
Yeah, you should have a rough idea what you're doing before then.
My logic is, if you know how to pose properly before prep, that's less time that you have to spend on posing during prep and more time for you to do all your other stuff, because it gets busy with all the cardio, meal prepping, all of that stuff. So if you get a hand,
What was that word?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
So something some other people told me to
Okay.
do.
I was just clarifying for the record, just taking note of that.
Yeah,
What
no,
time was that? 21 minutes. Yeah, right. Note that one down.
So yeah, you have more time for doing all that other stuff because it does get very busy. If you and then you get brain dead. So if you're then brain dead and you're still trying to learn your posing, it's going to be very difficult. So it's much easier to learn earlier. Which,
Yep.
speaking of, how long do we think it takes us to get ready for a prep?
I think everybody's different. And it depends where you're starting. So I think it's really, really important that you set a realistic timeline. And I think the first thing that you do, as a rule of thumb, if I've got a first timer, like we've got quite a few on the team, and they're like, "Oh, I want to do this show," I'm like, "Okay, well, let's consider prep to not be too aggressive. So let's call it a 20-week prep. I think that's a nice number for most female athletes, depending on how lean they are, right? So I use that as an arbitrary number. So if I back 20 weeks out from a show, and then we look at the athlete at that 20-week mark, and then we go, there's no way in hell you're going to be ready in 20 weeks. And the athlete has to be okay to be able to say, look, there's another show, target that one. It's not all about, but I live in Hamilton, so I want to do my home show in Waikato, which was in Rotorua a couple of years ago, so I don't know how that worked.
That one was my home show that I forced Chris to let me do.
Yeah, that's true. And it wasn't in Waikato, but that's okay. But, if that's your thing, then... But if you're not going to be ready in 20 weeks, then you've got an unrealistic time frame. Some girls can get ready in 12.
How many weeks out am
sitting
I, Chris?
9. Some can do it in less than 9, but that's because she's a freak of nature. And also, we're not trying to get you that super, super lean because you kind of do that anyway. But yeah, I mean, for a first timer, I would say 20 weeks is a realistic time frame for a prep. But if you're a first timer, don't think of it from a 20-week prep. Look at it as a 1-year prep. So you've got 30 weeks for growing. You got 2 weeks for screwing shit up, which will happen. And then you've got 20 weeks to get into stage shape. So it's a year commitment. And that's a realistic time frame for most first timers. And you've got other people that are on a different journey, a transformation journey or whatever. It could be a lot longer. It depends on what the end result is going to be. But I'd say for the standard bikini, swimsuit, fit model, etc., a year is a realistic time frame.
And then if you have, the other thing I think that you should probably spend a little bit longer is if you have a significant amount of body fat to lose, but you still want to be stage lean, I would recommend giving it 2 years, using the first year to then do a bit of a cut first, not quite a prep, but get rid of any extra, and then reverse back up, and then get to just be in a good level of body fat. Don't put all of it back on, just what's needed. And then you can go from there and be in a good place to prep. If you're trying to lose over 20 kgs, it's going to be very difficult.
It's not impossible.
It's difficult.
But it's difficult. It's not necessarily healthy. And again, we do want to preserve your health. I mean, I know we call it health and fitness industry, and competitive bodybuilding is, let's face facts, it's not about health. But if you can't do it healthily, like if you have to kill yourself to get 20 weeks, I've seen an Olympia contender do that. She would drop 20 plus kilos in her prep. Downside is that you spend all your time prepping, no time growing. So yeah, if you do have significant amounts of body fat to lose, you're probably better off doing a prep, in speech marks,
like a mock
to
prep.
get down to what I would call your starting point. We've done this last year, Rach, with a couple of the girls. We were like, okay, you're not going to be ready, but let's see what you look like. And so we've got a goal. Let's get on stage and just we're going to have fun. That's a good way to do it. So yeah, 2 years is fine. Yeah.
So that's more if you have the expectation of being at that stage lean. If you are fine with being just a little bit on the softer side and you still just want to get on stage and have fun, that is fine. But don't expect to get completely stage lean as a first timer and then also have a lot of weight to lose it. But it's a lot of things going against you. It's possible, but it's very, very difficult to do.
Yeah, you're not helping yourself.
No.
And that's a realistic thing. We talk with your coach about it. It's like, okay, what is the time frame? It goes back to that. And I think one of the other things is before you start thinking about competing, is you need to understand some of the basic things about bodybuilding. Like prep doesn't end at the end of prep. You've got your reverse diet, and that takes about half the amount of time of your prep. It should, to gradually come back.
Do
Most
not
people don't
drop your coach after your show.
Yeah. Do not ghost them. Thank you, got my medal, and I'll see you 16 weeks out from the next show. If you don't understand what an off or a growth season actually is, if you don't understand what peak week is or reverse dieting, you're not ready. So learn those basics first.
And then what do we not do? What are the things that we look for not to do? What are those red flags that we're like, get out? We do not want those here.
Too short timeline. Picking, for example, we're just about to start the competitive season here in New Zealand, with ICN's up first, and then IFBB kicks in a week after, I believe.
9 shows in 9 weeks.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's all right. Well, we better book those flights too. But yeah, to pick a too short timeline, that's a real red flag and a common mistake, is like, saying that I want to do this show and it's 12 weeks away. You're setting yourself up.
Expect for it to take a bit longer than you probably think. The unfortunate truth of bodybuilding is usually you have less muscle and more body fat than you think.
Yeah.
Especially for people who have never competed before. Once you've competed before, you kind of know a little bit more and you know your body a bit better. But yeah, the first time you're like, ah.
Yeah, when you stand on stage and go, oh, shit.
Or even you just lose the weight. Like my first show, I thought I was like pretty skinny. I used to lean going into it. But then I lost like 10 kgs and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, where did I lose that from? Yeah.
So yeah, no, make sure you've got extra time, and then making sure you are in the right category and federation. Please do not do whatever your coach does. If you pick a figure coach and they just tell you to do figure, don't just do figure because they told you to and that's their category. Do what suits you best. Do some research, look into the divisions, also do what you like best. I've actually seen a few competitors who have told me they really wanted to do bikini and that they actually looked like they should have done bikini, but then because they'd chosen a figure coach, they ended up in figure. So I've seen a few athletes like that. So make sure you do whatever you actually want to look like. If you prefer the bikini look, don't do wellness or figure. If you prefer the figure look, don't go into wellness or bikini. Whatever you prefer should be where you go.
Yeah. And it's also, when you're picking that category, it may not be the category that you 100% fit now, or even for this particular show that you pick. Especially figure girls, I mean, that takes time. You might just like that look and like the posing. You have to go in with a realistic expectation to that category. But if you know that you sort of do grow a little bit better and easier in the back and the shoulders and the quads, then just understand that to get the look that you really want, it's going to take longer. So picking that category is really, really important. But also, when you're doing it, get some other opinions from people. I mean, I'm still getting messages from people that have other coaches saying, hey, what do you think? And I've always got to cover my ass and say, I'm not your coach, blah, 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 blah. I'd listen to what your coach says. But this is what I think, because you've asked. Ask people that you trust or whose opinions you value. What do they think? Is this better for me? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? And then make a decision on which category you should be doing and which federation you should be doing.
One thing I will say, though, is don't do that too much when you're kind of in prep. If you keep asking people and double-checking things, you're not really trusting your coach. And I've had a few people asking me questions like this, and I'm like, well, your coach has told you to do this. Do you not trust them? Okay, find a different coach.
I mean, I'm getting those anonymous messages, those things that Valerie posts on thing. The anonymous questions that come through, I'm like, half the time I'm thinking I'm getting stitched up, to be fair, but sometimes you're like, dude, just ask your coach. Yeah, so don't ask those questions once you started prep. That's what you do, is your research before you start prep.
Yeah.
So if you're still questioning it.
So it's okay to question your coach, but don't start asking everyone for their opinions on everything that you're doing at all times. That's when you're going to run into problems. And then make sure that, like we've said, you are practicing your posing. You need to practice it. You cannot just do it once every few weeks, even once a week. Something I did a lot in my earlier days. Now I don't practice as much because I've done it for a while. But I used to do like 5 to 10 minutes every single day after my training session. So then you don't have to do half an hour all the time. So if you just do a little bit every day, it's a good just like keep on top of it and keep practicing. You don't have to do half an hour, just 5 to 10 minutes in the gym after each training session.
And that's a common mistake for first timers, is not practicing the posing, or that's it. And again, red flag, common mistake, get onto it. I guess another big common mistake that first time competitors make is constantly comparing yourself to everybody else. Such and such is on Instagram and she's shredded. Such and such is doing this, and oh my God, she's this, that, and the other thing. It's like, if you spend all your time doing that, you're never going to be able to get ready, because you're constantly second guessing yourself. You're constantly going to your coach, I'm not going to be ready. I'm not going to be ready. You just don't. It's fine to look at somebody and go, damn, she's doing well. But comparing yourself to them, or comparing yourself to an elite, like national level athlete or a pro level athlete, not a good idea. Or some of these gyms now have posing rooms, and they have different settings on the lighting. So you've got the social media post lighting, and then you've got the check-in lighting. And trust me, the check-in lighting is like, bam, it's like nothing. And you're like, oh shit. And then the social media lighting is like, oh my God, they look fabulous. Look at all those lines and stuff. You're like, I better stop doing those.
The trend of people posting themselves like posed with dark lighting so that everything is like, flaws are hidden, but all your muscles look way bigger. All the definition is like significantly better. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Because then I've actually seen it many, many times, like where people have posted all these photos and everyone's been like, oh my God, they look amazing. They're going to take this show out. And then they show up and then they don't place because it was lighting and angles. So I've never understood doing that, because I'm like, why would you want people to think you look better than you are? I don't know. To me, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Why put a filter on, bring your waist in and all that sort of stuff? I mean, I wouldn't know how to do it in the first place. I mean, I have enough trouble posting a picture, as my lovely wife will attest to. But yeah, don't compare yourself to them. I mean, we talked about it in one of the other episodes, Rachel, and I said when I was judging, I didn't follow anybody. And that was why. I didn't want to know what you looked like. So if you're competing, do you really care what competitor X looks like? You don't know that's what she's going to look like on the day. And if she does look that on the day, it's not going to help you. So, just do you,
Yeah, it's even people posting like what they're doing for their calories, what they're doing for their cardio, and then people will come to you, Chris, and be like, oh, but this person's doing so-and-so amount of cardio, and they're doing the same show as me, and they're only on this many calories, and they get to eat this. They're a different person. So there's no comparison there.
What would I say? Comparison is the devil of
thief of joy.
Yeah, probably that would be right. But I guess with so many athletes now being on social media and it being a thing, it's tough not to. But yeah, you're not going to help yourself if that's your primary worry, is that competitor Y. Oh, she's doing 2 hours of cardio and she's on 900 calories. My coach doesn't want me to do that. Well, your coach has got a plan and they should have discussed it with you, and then, so you know where you're going. But yeah, that comparing yourself every 5 minutes to every competitor that's out there, they don't look that good. It's like when you see the pros and it's like you see the photos and then you'll hear all the judges saying, oh, we want you to be fuller, a little bit softer, a little bit more feminine. We don't want you to have a deep six pack. We don't want you to have separation. And then you see a photo online of a pro and they are jacked and shredded. And you're like, but she looks like that. It's like, yeah, because the camera works different than the human eye. Your iris doesn't stay open as much and let us much lighten. I've seen that firsthand when we were judging the Arnolds in Australia many years ago. And we couldn't see all the athletes, but they had a big LCD screen behind them. So we were looking up at the athletes, and there was these 2 guys off to the left that were in front of us, right in front of us. And they were on the screen. I was like, holy crap, these guys are amazing. And then we looked directly at them and went, no, they're not. Don't compare yourself. What else? Oh, Rachel, you were talking earlier about people that thinking that they're going to do one show and then they're done. That's a
Bodybuilding
common
is so
mistake with people.
addictive. So always, because people will just be like, oh yeah, I'm only planning on doing this one show and that's it, and then I'm done, and so I'm just going to cheap out and everything is fine. I'm like, no. If you do that, you're going to want to do the next show so you can do better. I like to always say, go into it thinking, maybe I'll do another one in future, and we'll just hold that possibility there. We'll see what happens, because it is very addictive, because you see what you look like, and you're like, but I know I can do better.
Yeah.
How can I improve this? Even sometimes it's week to week. Like, you might even just show up and be like, my first show, I had blue eyeshadow. Don't do that. Don't be like me and wear blue eyeshadow on stage
Or
because your
eyeshadow
suit
that
is blue.
matches, or eyeshadow that matches your
Don't
bikini.
do it. Don't do it.
Don't do that.
Neutrals. So yeah, the next time I showed up, like, I went to the next show, I was like, I'm gonna do this because I know that just my presentation can be better. And then I was like, hang on a second, I know that I can build more muscle. So each time you're like, but I know what I can improve. So yeah, it is very addictive, because you see those improvements actually happening. Whereas sometimes when you're in the gym and you're just training, you don't always see the improvements because it's hiding under a little bit of body fat. So yeah, when you do a show, you can actually see it, and then you can compare your photos and be like, wow, look at that difference 1 year can make. So it's very, very addictive sport.
And as you said, it's like you think, oh, I'm only going to do one, and you get to the start of the prep process, and for some reason, some people are under the misinformed perspective that once you enter prep, you're going to improve your overall physique. You can't grow bigger glutes during prep. You can't change the caps on your shoulders during prep.
Why not?
Now, when you start, because you're not eating enough, basically. And it doesn't work that way. Although there are the odd freak out there that will gain muscle during prep, and they're very special and unique, and unfair. But as a rule, the physique you have when you start prep as a first timer is the physique you're going to put on stage. It's just going to be leaner and a little bit more polished. So yeah, those people who go in thinking, oh, one and done, as you said, most of the time it's like, but I really like that changing my body. I'll do another one. Yeah, don't kid yourself. You'll probably get bitten by the bug.
Yeah, generally, yeah, you want to do another one afterwards, because it's so good seeing the improvement. It's good to have a goal to work towards. Like, human beings need a goal to work towards.
Plus, it's always cool to buy another bikini.
This is true. Everyone loves buying a new bikini because they're sparkly and they're pretty.
We all know sparkles win. Sparkles.
Look at my headphones.
I know. I was actually going to comment on that. Did you rhinestone those yourself, or did they come?
I did. So for those of you listening and can't see my headphones, I have bedazzled them with matching rhinestones.
I feel left out. You didn't bedazzle mine. Mine are very dull.
I could. I have the exact right color. It's called Montana.
Sounds promising.
Oh,
it's hailing out here.
Oh, I was like, was that my headphones?
No, that's welcome to Auckland, everybody.
Okay, no, we're okay here. But yeah, no, I did bedazzle my headphones for a bit of fun. I can do some more. I haven't done the sides, but yes, they're nice and sparkly.
They're very sparkly. And it's all about the sparkle, as we know. Sorry, boys, you don't really have much choice. You can wear your Quicksilver pants. So, give you a few takeaways that you can work on for as you make that decision of getting ready for stepping on stage. It's a big decision to make, but it's a fun one, right? It's not as scary as you think. It's pretty terrifying being up in front of 500 people wearing nothing but a rhinestone bikini and some spray tan. But once you're there, too late to worry about it then, right? So, some final tips and encouragement. Rachel, what do you reckon?
So make sure that you are asking questions. So ask everyone questions, because bodybuilding is one of those niche sports where it can be quite hard to find information. So, and every country works a little bit different. Every federation works a little bit different. So find people within your federation and your country and start talking to them, ask questions. Generally, everyone is actually really, really nice in the bodybuilding space. I've never, especially within the girls, I've never experienced anyone really, bitchiness. Everyone's usually pretty happy to help. So yeah, ask people questions. What do they think? What have they experienced? And make sure, you continue learning. You're never done learning on this sport.
That's true. There's always something that you can take away from a slightly different transition in posing, slightly different way of preparing prep food to make it taste good, different things like that.
Chris, I'm waiting for your recipe book. I'm still waiting for it.
I got so many recipes though. It's like, I could just give you one on cheesecakes and you'd be like happy.
You could make an entire book on cheesecake recipes. You could make good money from that.
I could. But then I'd probably have to do that whole video. I'd have to start doing that thing on Instagram, with like the pictures and the videos, and we all know how much I love doing that. So maybe not. Maybe I'll just get a friend of mine to draw it. But yeah, stay curious, ask questions, ask a lot of questions before you start prep. Get that out of the way so you know what you're in for. Really,
it's a lot more than people think. Oh, sorry, Chris. Yeah. It's a lot more than people think. Like, people do not realize the amount of work that goes into a prep. There's so many 1% things that people don't realize, even when you ask some of those questions. It's like, people often come to me and then they'll start asking me about even just the tanning, and I'm like, oh yeah, here's your 10 different things that you need to know that are urgent. Like, your tan will just come off if you don't do these. So yeah, there's a lot of different things that go on. So yeah, ask a lot of questions. Okay.
So trusting your coach, it's a really important part of the process of like trusting that they're there for your best interest and that they will help you get there. If you feel that, you're not doing yourself or your coach any justice if you're constantly reaching out to other people for not just validation of what you're doing, but validation of what they're doing. You've given these people this role, give them a shot. And if it's something that you don't feel that's right, give them the respect of talking to them about it. And let them know where you're at and where you're struggling. Their job is to help, not just for you to stay on their page, but for them to stay on your page. Trust your coach, not necessarily blindly. If they tell you to start popping T3 like it's M&Ms, probably start looking elsewhere. But just trust and communicate.
Yes, and then enjoy the process. Like, the more you think about how hard it is, the worse it's going to be. Enjoy the suffering. Enjoy the grind.
Embrace the grind, or what does that say? Embrace the suck.
Yeah, embrace the suck. Embrace the suck. Because if you just think like how miserable you are all the time, you're just going to be miserable. If you think like, yes, the pain is making me better, like it does become better. So yeah, enjoy
is that what you say every time I put Bulgarians in your plan?
I've actually gotten very good at them. When I did that session with Talia, I actually beat her by quite a bit on the lunges and split squats.
I will be checking in with Talia on that momentarily.
She smashed me at the hip thrust, but I had her on the lunges and Bulgarians.
Yeah. No, look, prep shouldn't be fun, but when I say fun, it's not probably the right word. Prep shouldn't be easy,
no.
But it's a challenge, and that's part of the battle. That's part of enjoying it, is proving that you can do it and enjoying that grind of you proving that you have the willpower to not eat that mince and cheese pie or whatever your filled donut, whatever your weakness is. But also you're enjoying what you're creating, because you are creating art. This is technically sculpting. You're sculpting with your body. You're embellishing it with fantastic jewelry
and rhinestones.
And rhinestones. You see, it's all about it's all about the sparkles, ladies and gentlemen. Sparkles. I need help. So enjoy the process. And embrace the grind. And just know that when you get to the end, you've earned it.
Yes, like honestly, all the hard work, it pays off. And usually, actually, the first one is the worst. Usually the first prep is the worst. So on great note to finish off with, I think, is after we've talked about all these challenges, the first prep is usually the worst. If you then go to another show, if you've reversed well, it should be easier. I found all my preps have gotten easier throughout the years. The first one was significantly harder.
Yeah, because you don't know what to expect. You don't know what you don't know, and then when you do know, you go, oh, it wasn't so bad.
Also, you build more muscle, so then it's easier to drop weight, and you've got more. Just got more there to burn off. So yeah, definitely the first one's usually the hardest. But yeah, I think that's probably about covered this topic. So if you yeah, if you're thinking about competing, hopefully that helped a little bit. Feel free to drop us some questions on Instagram, or do we have any other places?
Apparently, you can comment on different things. YouTube and no, what else is there? Spotify.
Drop a
All of these.
comment.
Drop a comment. Send us a DM on Instagram, and then we'll be happy to help point you in the right direction. But so if you think you're dipping your toes, we hope this has given you some clarity. Have fun, enjoy it, and we'll see you guys next Saturday.
Don't forget to follow us so that you can see us every Saturday for your cardio sessions.
What do they say? Like, subscribe, and share with your training partner. Well, thank you very much, everybody. We will see you next Saturday, where we will be talking about